Okay, so I'm Keone Payton, and today we have
Aloha, this is Brother Daniel Anthony.
Aloha kako, Kaueahu Nahoi.
okay, and we are on the Round Block podcast, where we like to talk to people instead of talking about them. You know, we encourage face to face. I haven't done a Zoom podcast yet, even though like I got tons of offers to do Zoom podcasts. To me, the real good energy is in direct conversation, and I don't know if it's old school, but I still believe in it. Okay, but yeah, thank you guys for coming, man. Yeah, Daniel, you've been on my radar for a very long time too. Ever since I watched your TEDx. So, been you did that maybe how many years ago was that?
That was in 2014.
2014.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of a while back.
And you know what, brother? That's a great starting point.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, in 2014, on the day that I'm delivering my TEDx, is the day that my ex-wife is moving me out of her home. And I come home from TEDx to my farm that I've been at for 7 years almost, and completely had to rebirth who I was. And in spite of you thinking and people seeing TEDx as being like this monument, it was actually the peak right before the cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's one of those things that, the realness of life is oftentimes what brings absolute clarity.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And so much turmoil um, on the home makes it impossible for the things that we do to be true.
Mhm.
And that period of time in my life is the time that I grew the most as a human being.
Mhm.
It's one thing, and I started I think the TEDx is great because people really, you know, was impacted by it, but I don't think people knew what I was going through while delivering that. I mean, straight up, bro, I showed up on Maui Friday in a malo.
Mhm.
I put myself under kapu. My whole world is falling apart. I got freaking, dude.
Yeah, you just have to pause it, yeah, and do that because and it's a good thing you did that. It was impactful. It reached me, and I looked at the audience. I was like, fuck. No, I like your delivery, man. Everything you did about that and said in that TEDx, man, it was very impactful. So I'm glad you did it, man. I'm not glad that all those bad things happened, but I'm glad that you did that, because shit impacted me. And I own a company called Farmers Market. Yeah. And what does that have to do with farming? And people ask me that all the time too. Like, oh, why is it called Farmers Market? You're not a farmer. You're not farming anything. Get all the keyboard warriors and the
I
haters.
farm mines.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you one of the weeds.
No, when I started Farmers Market, the idea was, I was fresh out of jail, and the idea was to work with other local artists, um, and do graphics and designs and art in a way that I just have the hub. I remember when I was locked up, bro. I wrote to Hurley. I wrote letters to Hurley. I wrote because I was with Alex Kinimaka, and he's friends with some of them too, yeah. So hey, bro, you got their info, bro. Like, write to them. Let me write to them. Come on, Alex, bro. Still calling Kinimaka's ass, but let me write to them. Just let me just try. I said, I'll write to them. I said, I want to do a graphic for you guys, free, no charge. I'm building my portfolio for when I get out, no charge. Nobody wrote me back. I wrote to Richie Woolcott from Volcom. I wrote to the Bobby Hundreds from the Hundreds of streetwear. A little bit more streetwearish, and wrote to kind of wrote to any dude. I honestly look in the back of surfer magazines and stuff. I write down their addresses and I just write to them. Because I knew what I was gonna do when I got out. But the reality of when I got out was different. And you might be able to relate to this on farming on some level, which I hope to change too. Because I hope to change that whole dynamic too, where when I came out, everybody was so clicky. They was like, "Oh, I work with so and so, so I cannot work with you." And then I was like, "Oh, I don't. We can still work together." You know what I mean? That has nothing to do with anything. And I wanted to create a hub for artists that you could make money and I make some money too. We all make money. But my thing is, I make a little bit of money, but if I work with 10 people, that's my time. That's my hard work. So I'm gonna make a little bit of money times 10 though. You know what I mean? So it was just weird. I just found out that, it was very clicky. Oh, I'm doing designs for so and so and they don't like you. And I'm just and that's so what the weirdest thing is like, we have one person I don't really care for. You know what I mean? Which was just but it turned even for somebody I don't really care for, it was a motivational factor. Cause sometimes I just be like, fuck, I'm not making money. And I get kids and I'm just like, this is tough. Maybe I should rethink what I want to do in life. Because things cost money. The sad part is things cost money in life. And I want to, I started rethinking it. Then I would remember all the negative stuff that was said about me. There's the fire. Boom, started again. I'm just like, no, fuck that. Let's go. Let's go. And then I just started doing it myself. Like just that I could control that. I can't control if I want to buy a design from you or you. I cannot control that. And I need them by this time because I have time frames and seasons, and just like you guys, we have we have seasons, a summer collection, a winter collection. It's the same thing with farming too. So farmers market really made a lot of sense, and there's that correlation that a lot of people don't think about. But even in fashion, there's seasons. And you have to design for a certain season because it's colder now. Not Hawaii. Hawaii's like almost singular season, but in fashion, you're designing for the world, yeah. And there's seasons throughout the world. Even though Hawaii is kind of like forever summer, sort of. Winter is just wet.
Well, when you put the fashion, I mean, fashion came from plants that were farmed,
Mhm,
right? All the textiles were grown. So it was what was available, right?
mhm,
The colors was things that were natural and gathered. And so the relationship between agriculture, farmers, and fashion
mhm.
is ancient,
Yeah.
right? The men would plant the valke and the women would make the kapa and print it.
Mhm,
And there's the relationship of farming and fashion, right? And in the traditional, in these chants, they talk about the beauty of the types of models and the types of kapa patterning of antiquity,
mhm.
right? And when we look at the stuff like by Auntie Delani and Marie McDonald today and what they're doing, you can only imagine what was being done, 300 years ago.
Yeah.
Once again, the relationship, farming. So I think, you're obviously brilliant, and being able to capture um, a feeling in the community.
Mhm,
When farmers market, when I saw it emerge, it was also in an agricultural awareness period where we were really trying to. There was all kinds of agricultural battles that were going
mhm,
on. I mean, this is the other part. To be a
mhm.
farmer, you got to kind of be a scrapper, yeah.
Yeah.
And in your particular genre, farmers market, you use cool,
Yeah.
yeah, and cool is agriculture, bro. That
Mhm,
bugger mean for stand, for grow. That's the
yeah,
ulu tree. That's the new. Those are the very prostrate. The farmers really were our practitioners of cool,
mhm,
right? And cool is knowing when to stand.
mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it's not always that you stand,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's knowing when to,
Mhm.
Uncle Bobby Pahia, uh, who I just want to send some love out. You guys out there, social media, it's called Hawaiian Taro Farms, Uncle Bobby Pahia on Maui. And Uncle Bobby is managing 300 acres.
Mhm.
And his rows of taro, he does like 5-acre patches. Okay? And his taros are bomb. And I go, Uncle, I mentored with him. I
Yeah.
went every week, slept on his couch, okay?
Yep.
To farm with this uncle and his wife. And
Mhm.
first of all, he had the meanest wife, anti backbone, wake up before him, go sleep after, cook the dinner, make this, make that, move 1,200 pounds of banana before
Yeah.
5 a.m. every single day. But I said, Uncle, how come your taro is so consistent and so big? And he looked me right in my eye and said, Daniel, because I owe every single hole myself. And, you know, in the practice of kalo,
Mhm,
yeah, when you have that oo in your hand and you're piercing the soil,
mhm.
you realize, one, how important the soil prep is. Because some places we farm, if you never prep the soil and at least turn the drip on for a little while, cause you busting rock.
Yeah.
You know, you one hole all night, and and you know, it's this the same with fashion. It requires skill.
Mhm.
You have to pay attention to your environment,
Mhm.
right? If you're looking at the trends
Yeah.
and the weather patterns, and even though it's supposed to be winter, but it's a hot winter, you're not going to do a super heavy coat.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of pay attention. So I appreciate that. Um, as I've watched your progression, you know, for me, and this is in my naivety. Yeah, I am one of those guys that has had the privilege to follow my dreams and my beliefs, brah, since birth.
Mhm.
Honestly, my grandma was like, "Boy, you can do whatever you want,"
Yeah. Yeah.
and I did all the not good stuff first, and then
Same here.
I learned how to listen to that voice inside of me.
Mhm.
Yeah, and began to understand like some of the kuleana that I had because of maybe who I had been influenced growing up, and some of the teachers and some of the environments and situations that put you in places where if you just really was listening,
Mm.
then you might have actually left with something that could impact and change your whole damn life, you
Yeah. Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I mean, how many of us was there but we wasn't listening,
Totally.
you know?
Totally.
Um and so I my in my naivety, I always look for the connection, yeah, of the businesses, of the different brands back into our movement. And our movement comes from, you know, I mean, I look at this brand, this is a sovereign Hawaiian brand. This is one brand that stands alone in a whole sea of brands and is identified and is unique unto itself, but it's at the same time is absolutely based upon the ideology and imagery of kupuna. And you know, you being a lineal descendant of these kupunas, I'm happy that you're doing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, it's super important. Me, I I understand the need for us to all know our place.
Mhm.
Yeah. But we also have to put the best people for the right job. Yeah, we live in this society where it's like you're right, it's all clicked out. And that's one of the reasons that we haven't been successful
Mhm.
in having any kind of real movement,
Mhm.
right? And if you look, one of the most successful that we have seen in our lifetime, Mauna Kea.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you looked at it, it was actually a bunch of cliques
Mhm.
that decided that the mountain was more important than their egos was more important, right?
Yep.
Than their dislike, than their history, right? At the moment,
Mhm.
something was greater.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm searching again in our Lahui, like how do we create that greatness, that great motivation of
Mhm.
us to willingly disarm ourselves between each other.
Mhm.
Yeah. We're so good at hurting each other. How can we combine our incredible resources that have nothing to do with money,
Mhm.
have everything to do with what is in our minds?
Mhm.
Bruh, your mind is one weapon. Yeah. And if you take that mind and you line it up with the other minds, we have an arsenal.
Mm.
Yeah. And the battlefield today is this internet, right? Is this spoken word that we're doing
The
right now.
battlefield is the internet.
You know, it is so powerful
Mhm.
that this tool can can impact the kind of change that we need.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Mm.
bro, your baby cannot go another 40 years of this.
Mhm.
Yeah, you and me, we're in our 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what we've seen in our lifetime, our children
Mhm.
at the current projected rate is going to be projected out of here.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, totally. With the the price of homes on the rise and stuff. And I gotta share with you this too. So when I was locked up in Louisiana, had another kid in there with always had money on his books and stuff, and I used to draw portraits for him for commissary. And then so I was like, "Oh, what you do outside?" It's a common question now. Everybody a little bit in the area. What you do outside? He's like, "Oh, he was a farmer," and they grew corn and stuff, yeah. I was like, "Oh man, what hundreds of acres they had for growing corn and stuff." And then so I started talking story with him, yeah. And then right now it says, "Oh, so how is it? how are you guys handling without you there? You know what I mean? He's oh, it's my grandpa's. He's gonna pass it down to me. Here, and I didn't really think about it back then, but when I came out, then I started to kind of put things together a little bit more. And sometimes they make you'll go years without with a puzzle piece that was given to you. You put them in your pocket, yeah, and then years later, you can't to complete this picture. You got to pull out that puzzle. Man, right there, I was just like, and that puzzle piece was, oh, they're okay because um the government pays my grandpa not to farm right now. And then and I didn't understand that. I was like, what? He must know somebody. What is that? Like on side deal or something? He must know somebody. And I didn't really put it together until I realized about GMOs. GMOs and them going, a few generation of not growing crop. Then now you need to get their seed. Here's their seed that cannot reproduce, and you got to keep buying them. Then that's when it clicked. I was like, makes sense. But I get chicken skin. Just thinking about how many years it took me to put that puzzle together. And I was like,
I'm happy you brought up GMOs.
Yeah.
This is the true history of our home. Yeah, our home is the birthplace of modern chemical agriculture. In 1893, the occupiers that overthrew us,
Mhm.
the sons and daughters of Christians, they used chemicals in any way possible. They were the Monsantos of their generation.
Mhm.
And they figured out how much the Aina could handle in the moment, but the use of that time and time again has put places like Haleiwa as borderline USDA EPA Superfund sites for the amount of chemicals, right? Right here in Gila, we get all the arsenic right in the field. Well, these are only the places that they're testing,
Mhm.
right? There's so many sites in our islands that because of chemicals, because of occupation, our land needs to be healed.
Mhm.
Yeah, and as a farmer, that's to me, that's the future.
Mhm.
The future is actually not farming food. Farming food, it will be a byproduct of us being successful. Our immediate future is healing our land.
Mhm.
And that's actually why Kauwe and I are really here today. We wanted to have a fertilizer session.
Mhm.
We wanted to talk about some of the real big challenges that we're facing, right now on the island of Oahu. And we're searching for clarity. We're asking if there's any other full-time taro farmer living on homestead land on Oahu. Let us know. We wanna work with you. We want to partner up because how is it that we've come to 2021 and the homestead land from 1921 was designed, right, to provide an ability for Hawaiians to remediate themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're gonna give them aina, give them the capability to build their own little kuleana.
Mhm.
And in 2021, we're down to one Native Hawaiian of 50% blood quantum or more living on homestead land on Oahu that is a full-time taro farmer.
Mhm.
And Kauwe is either going to be the first on homestead in our modern generation, or he's going to be the last.
Mhm.
And we're in a place where the farmers, we need a healing revolution of the soil,
Mhm.
right? The soil needs to be invested in. The farmers need to be invested in. And this is in a time when we're having a food crisis.
Yeah. I think that's what the pandemic kind of brought that out again too. Like that ugly head poked its head out again
Yeah.
about our food independence. Yeah, and
Food dependence.
yeah, but also shout out to Dustin Barker because when I was actually when I was locked up with him for getting arrested at Mauna Kea, he was talking to me about soil remediation and the benefits of hemp and pakalolo, how it cleanses and remediates the soil and stuff. And I just kind of just did a small thing on that too because just like how you said, man, these hundreds of years of polluting the soil and contaminating the soil, the aina needs to get healed too. So it's another puzzle piece, huh?
Getting back to the cool season and then Mauna Kea, that's the problem now. And I think that's what Mauna Kea did. Yeah, it helped us focus. And where everybody looked up, So everybody was able to focus
Mhm.
back on the aina.
Mhm.
Yeah. No more Mauna Kea. Mauna Kea just represented and presented herself so everybody can hoi and look back on the aina, which is the most important.
Mhm.
Hawaiians can be out there making businesses, doing whatever. That's all good.
Mhm.
But only get one of me.
Mhm.
And we need more Hawaiians who live on homestead that
farming taro.
they like farm taro and then
Malama
they,
kuleana.
they like be but the greatest protest is on Hawaiian. It's just you being born. The second greatest protest is you farming haloa.
Mhm.
And everything that come in and all of that. Mauna Kea was just the focus for help us refocus back on the aina. Because he ali'i ka aina, not he ali'i ke ali'i. The ali'is wasn't the ali'is, the aina was the ali'i.
Yeah.
And I don't mind being on kawa to the aina.
Mhm. That's humility.
That's what we was born for be.
Just stewards. Yeah.
And we went ho'i one day to the aina. And one day we can become lepo for somebody else.
Mhm.
And encourage your children. Show them that it's one cool thing for being a farmer. You're the most handsome when you get your malo on.
Yeah. Oh, my legs is white, so I'd be a little bit ashamed at first. But after the sunburn and that nice bronzing action, then I'm gonna fit in after. But yeah. Mahalo for sharing that too. It's there's on these podcasts, man, I've cried a few times.
Keone, we're in turning point. If we want to see future taro farmers, if we want even the kids to have a choice, we have to draw a line in the sand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And part of that is managing all the tourists, but part of it is managing the government systems. Part of it is managing the military. I mean, let's talk about some real shit, bro. Right now on Oahu, 25% of the population has free rent. 25% of the population did not see their gas go up. 25% of the population did not see their food costs increase. What 25% was that?
Military.
Was the military.
Yeah.
Guess what? We realized the military is actually doing it right, but with the wrong group of people. The native Hawaiians, the kua'aina of this community need to not see their gas prices go up, need to have in perpetuity free rent.
Yeah.
This is the truth. How can 25, the amount of military exceeds the amount of Hawaiians? How's about this? We'll just do a swap. Yeah. We'll give the Native Hawaiian community the military bases. Yeah. And everybody else can go fight for the rest that they're fighting for. Because in that 25%, guess what? The pandemic hit. These people never lost their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Not one person went without a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Not one person in that circle was ever for a moment in food insecurity.
None of them stood in one food line.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which you know what that creates? That's a two-class system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the reality is, majority of those people are not on the front line fighting. And if we consider having to fight being a prerequisite of getting these benefits, well, what do you think the Kanaka Maoli have been doing since 1893?
And like guys
That's
like
a good point.
Monsanto, they're like Lisa Lance to come out of schools and they like put me and my family on old coral at no more soil, and then we get rules in our bylaws that say you cannot plant fruit trees and you cannot plant food and you cannot raise chickens for eggs and you cannot raise pigs. But ahana,
How can we be giving $1 per lease, not per year,
Mhm.
$1 per lease, 65-year leases
Yeah.
for 25% of Oahu? That is why we're suffering. We're suffering because we're not managing the government to negotiate with the military. Yeah, if we're going to live in this system, then this system needs to provide more security than what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to me, it's crazy to think that we can lease land for $1 for 65 years to the U.S. military, who can turn around and give $1 a year leases to organizations like Monsanto. But we cannot figure out a way to give $1 per 65-year leases to small farmers.
Yeah.
And this is not like they have a few acres here and there. This is hundreds of thousands of acres.
Yeah. Or even like what Kepa brought up too. Put people back on the land. Give them the chance.
This is the reality though. Yeah. It's school season. If we're going to stand by and wait for the military or even our own government or even our OHA or Kamehameha, guys, we're going to continue to wait for another generation. Yeah, I'm not waiting. I'm going in the aina and I'm opening the thing up because Uncle Skippy doing that. And that's what he instilled in us. Is that's your aina.
Yeah.
Go do them. Somebody come over there and block you. Just go someplace else. But continue and no ever stop opening up aina. You see the tree, cut them down. You see the Black River, open them up.
Yeah.
Just do them, Hawaiians. We don't want another generation for wait.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, bro.
Keone, what makes Kaueahu and I a ultra dynamic team, yeah, is because we don't have to be the same person. He can be him and I can be me. And we work together in that, preserving who we are. Yeah. To be clearing aina consistently and constantly. At the same time, to be chipping away at the political system to gather our people together. Because we have to clear the land and we have to protect it for every generation forward, which means we got to take a stand. And the reality is, like, it's not even about all the guys that took a stand. It's about everybody that's been waiting for the time to stand. And right now, there's so many groups of frustrated parts of our community. Right now, it's real easy to look at the Hawaiian community as a group that's been misled, misguided, misappropriated, overexploited. But right now in this COVID, I don't think there's a single group in our community other than the groups directly connected and related to the political system.
Yep.
Yeah?
You're right.
That hasn't been completely downtrodden in the last 12 months. All of our friends that worked in a restaurant, I'm so grateful that I jumped in the deep end of the pool and I learned how to swim and I've been growing my food because I used to be a part of that industry. And it was how I was my livelihood. And so, that was a huge sector. Like all of these different groups in our community, all they got out of this was a dehumanizing, insignificant amount of money from the government and no real opportunity to take part in the change. Yeah? Like, dude, do you need to be saved? Because, cousin, I'm looking at you. You look like you can freaking save yourself. You know what I'm saying? If we get one whole nation of save yourself us together, think we can fucking save the nation.
Yeah.
And when we look at the landscape, we clearly live in a situation when there is no opportunity for legitimacy to have a Hawaiian industrial park where Hawaiians are not leasing from foreigners to have an industrial park where they have exclusivity and privilege, right? Business centers. Where is it? You tell me. When Hawaiian owned this building.
Oh, no.
Yeah?
No.
What if there was a place, an incubator for Hawaiian businesses that gave them the opportunity to engage the system on their own land? Yeah. This is the thing. It would be different if the land wasn't so contentious. But if you're going to claim that that's your land and you already went said that they never deal with the claims to the land, then it's actually not your land. And if it's 50-50, where is the equal opportunity?
Yeah. No, you made a good point, too, when you talked about the only demographic that wasn't affected by this pandemic was the military. And it's not to say that, the military is bad, but where's the same equal opportunity for the Hawaiians? Which I think is
They're a guest. They're a guest. Yeah. And when you go as one guest, you got to be conscious of the host.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keone, you traveled before.
Yeah.
Yeah, you travel. So when you go to Germany and you go to U.S. military base in Germany, when the military guys leave the base, are they more likely to be courteous? Are they more likely to respect German culture? Right? Because in Germany, if the US guys make any kind outside the base, they get lickings. They get slaps. The police are not going to be lenient. The judicial system is not going to be lenient on this particular group
Mhm.
because they're guests. Here we have in Hawaii, we have the most privileged group, which are really all guests, yeah, who leave their base and then make like they're better than everybody else. And it's something that, the best, to me, the best way to move forward is we've got to create the table and make demands
Mhm.
and start taking back. We have to take it back. We're at this point where if we don't, this is 2021. I'm talking right now.
Mhm.
Right now is the window. Yeah. The government system, the infrastructure is not going to improve in the next 3 months. Yeah. And if you're worried about food, you better start planting now. And if you don't have the capability to plant, then you better freaking start supporting some farmers and supporting
That
the
are
actual
passionate.
movement
Yeah.
to take back land.
Yeah. It's like okay, so what Mauna Kea showed us as a group, as a culture and a race, it's possible if we just put, our differences aside and focus and have a common goal. And you make a good point, man. The common goal should be stewardship again. Not it shouldn't be who owns all the hotels.
Corporations.
Of course it gives jobs to the community, but that's money that's continuously going out, except for the workers. Why you made a good point. Why we cannot be the owners of the hotels?
It's real simple. If people want to play in this place, they need to give back to the Aina and to this place. And if that means that corporations pay hefty taxes that go to organizations and communities to help them create employment for fish ponds, for taro patches,
Yeah.
then there's a connection. Yeah, what we have happening is that there's no connection back to the Aina for any of these industries, right? If every industry that was actually on the Aina taking advantage and exploiting it put 1% of 1% back into the pot to the people that were doing the work for them. Because the reality is, you might never ever have the opportunity to go and malama some Aina. But maintain get one Uncle Kawe out there smashing them 365 days a year. Your ability to support him to do that
Yeah.
by going to work is there,
Mhm.
right? This is what I don't understand. I don't understand why we have groups of particular homesteads that cannot create the resources within their own homestead to help to support Hawaiians that want to pursue being Hawaiian,
Yeah.
right? If you all on the homestead because you're Hawaiian, why not support the Hawaiians on the homestead that actually want to be Hawaiians and those other Hawaiians that want to go get their job
Mhm.
and live that life? Great. But what we're going to find is that all of these Hawaiians prefer to be Hawaiian,
Mhm.
which now the question is, why you get to be one Hawaiian, Kauwe, versus the neighbor? And at this point, it's only because Kauwe is willing to work harder and sacrifice more. But that shouldn't be the case because this kuleana, to malama haloa is we are moku keave. Yeah, and I cannot come to this place without literally in my mind seeing the living heroes in my heart, my soul, my na'au of Mahi Aikalo. Yeah, I think of Anakala Eddie. I think of Anakala Kia. I think of Anakala Jerry. I think of uncles upon uncles upon uncles of Hama taro farmers. I think of Uncle Kavehi Ryder farming in Ka'u. I think of people in their backyards. This is a powerful place of kalo. Where are our full-time farmers? And where is the lahui to support these farmers?
Mhm.
Yeah. Look, the oldest occupation, the oldest entrepreneur was the mahi'ai. Yeah. And this is one of those things in this day and age, because of land and water, it needs to be subsidized and supported. Yeah, we found a secret. The one way you can be successful and maybe have a chance of making it is if you get free land and water. If you have to pay for your land and water anywhere near market value to farm taro and feed your community, most likely you'll just be broke for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you're right. Why are they?
We have to change that.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. It's, to me, the fact that you would have to go and write a nonprofit to try to do this is absolutely has brought us to the point of like, now we all gotta go be Westerners for go fuck be on Kanaka. Where is the Kanaka only path?
Yeah. No, you brought a good point too. Not only that, when you're asking for grants, you're asking for small handouts, and for you're very vocal about things. Now, the government isn't gonna like some of the things you have to say.
Oh, bro, I've
And
been
right there, your
blackballed
your
by
grant
all
is
the
cut.
institutions.
So you're forced to be the compliant rapee, as Uncle Skippy would say.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, Keon, I want to put this out there. Is this gonna air before July 4th?
Gosh. Oh, it depends on DJ Rum Runner, bro.
Okay.
He
Shout out,
masters
DJ.
Well, guess what, guys? Guess what? If you're listening to this after July 4th, I hope you come to our event, Traffic for Change. And this is the most loosely run, most unorganized event for the Lahui to participate. Yeah, how many of us have found ourselves sitting in traffic, absolutely going nowhere in our attempt to get home? Yeah, wasting countless hours of our life
You'll
in
never get
idle.
back. Yep.
So, Traffic for Change is a very, very simple frontline action. Yeah, it's totally legal. First thing I want to say is nothing that I'm recommending in any way is illegal in the United States of America. Possibly in the Hawaiian Kingdom, it could be illegal. But fortunately, there's absolutely nobody that will hold you to any type of compliance in the Hawaiian Kingdom, so you can break any law that you want. But in the fake state of Hawaii, in order to participate with this event, you'll need a valid driver's license and a registered vehicle. And the idea is you're going to pack lunch on July 4th, and you're going to get in traffic for freedom as we sit in line and overrun the airports of Hawaii.
I thought that was I thought that was a brilliant
Right?
thing, and mahalo to all the brotherhoods from Maui when
How do we,
they went lock down the airport.
dude, we're working with them.
Yeah.
We're
Yep.
working with them to do this on every single island on the same day with a unified message. Join us or go home.
Mhm.
And here's what we have to
Make
realize.
it fun. Make them on car cruise then.
Oh, no, brah.
Car cruise for change.
The idea
yeah.
is really to look at what are the major holidays coming up in this season of Ea from July until November, right? We have La Ho'i Ho'i Ea, July 31st. Shout out to all the communities that are celebrating La Ho'i this year. The realization, though, is that from La Ho'i to La Ku'oko'a on November 28th is a whole slew of Western holidays, which are peak travel time. We're going to let the community, let the world know what holidays that we're going to do this frontline action on. And our goal is to get people to choose not to travel on those days. Because, you know what? Keone, you ever did try call Governor Ige?
Yeah.
Yeah, what, he would call you back?
No.
No, my question to you is, when the CEO of Hawaiian Airlines called Governor Ige, you think he going to answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, what we need to use is the tourism and the tourism industry as an intermediary to hold the government accountable to really negotiate with us. You know what? I consider myself different only because of my consistency, but I've made it very loud and clear for over a decade. Frontline, Ku'i at the Capitol, legalized Pa'iai. I have pushed for numerous amounts of legislation to save taro lands, to release land and water back into the community, to fight the very thing that we are facing over the last decade to no avail. The methodology that we're using is absolutely wrong. We need every young person that feels like they have no opportunity to participate in this, right? This is our opportunity to get away from waiting. Because when they have to wait, When travel is disrupted on every single island on the same day and the message is exactly the same, and the reality is this, Mauna Kea, I love the example of using the movement as a fundraising opportunity to help to increase the ability for us to continue to educate. And one of the metrics that we use to see the success of our movement is how much we raise. We need to do this for our movement and ask the visitors to give us meaningful amounts of support. Like a pat on your back and they buy something from you is great. But that puts it in an economic place. What we need to do is free up the literal capital to be able to educate them. Because the reality is, when it comes to the world, we really don't have any enemies. We just have a whole crazy shitload amount of miscommunication. Yeah, and one of the ways to change that is to stand our ground and hold space. Yeah, and when we hold the space, what we find is there actually isn't room for anybody else. Yeah, during the COVID thing on Oahu, the one thing I realized is they need every single one of us to go to work. So there's room on the beaches for the tourists. Because when we was all going beach, never have one parking stall and never have one tourist on the island. We are in a place that COVID helped us remember why we all live here, why this place is so important to us. But we as a community haven't actually really come together to fight for the future of it. And I think it's because we're afraid of this word fighting. And that's why we have to have a way to participate that is safe and legal and nonviolent and allows for all of us to see who else is participating. Yeah. You know, I mean, yeah, we can make a cruise around the island and do it as a convoy. But the reality is if you felt like 5 times during the last year that you had a terrible day, well, you should do 5 laps around the airport. Yeah. Yeah. And those 5 laps will be the most meaningful laps in 2021. That'll be the best gas that you will spend in idle. You will not ever be in traffic and have it more meaningful in change because guess what? Every single CEO is going to be calling Governor Ige. And he's going to be like, dude, where's the land? Where's the water? So that you can feed these people. Yeah. You know, the reality is the state of Hawaii can immediately open thousands of acres of land with water without evicting anybody. Nobody. There's nobody there. There's nobody using it. Yeah, right now, thousands, tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of unused acres. And this includes Kamehameha Schools. This includes Liliuokalani Trust. These are all of the big institutions that
Hawaiian institution
have to play a role in our subsistence. Yeah, cultural subsistence cannot be bought. And the people that are the caretakers of that cultural subsistence are the ones that have to use those resources. Yeah, when you got to go all the way over there for go get the ting, then all along the way you malama. But when you stop going over there for get the ting, then nobody malama along the way. And we're in a place where because of the lack of mea to gather, nobody goes and malamas. Because of the lack of resources, the lack of management, if you go and get, you rape them. Because the next guy going, if you don't, you know, and the mentality in our community is a mentality that ensures guarantee get less. And we need to change that.
Yeah. Complete detachment from the Aina, bro. And then the powers that be, they're 100% willing. They don't even look at the Aina the same. They look at them as a commodity. Yeah. That their children can use the commodity also as a commodity. They don't look at them as mama. And that which provides everything that we have. We never stand in one line over COVID. Everything come from Mama Aina. And we was able for not only not worry about our 2 homes, yeah, and our extended friends and family, but we was able to forgive thousands of people food. I mean, and we just 2 dummies with no money. If somebody out there,
you guys are smarter than you.
Somebody was out there, yeah, like Kamehameha, Liliuokalani Trust, your Aina, with water runs through it. You get guys out there willing to do all of the hard work. I think we're inspiring young ones out there and making them kind of cool for being Terra Farmer. And they think they're willing for B1 Farmer.
But there's no opportunity.
We gotta provide an opportunity. Yeah. When I was growing up, I was told, you crazy if you aspire to be Ontario farmer. You're not gonna make money. You're only gonna lose money. You stupid. No. I mean, mid-pack, graduated in 1990, top of my class. And the world around, chasing of the wind for the dollar. Yeah, it took me all kind of places. My mother told me, what happened to you? I waste all that money. I said, no, mom, you made me smart. And I don't believe any of that BS. And I realized
Too smart, maybe.
all of the truth is right here in the Aina. Right here, mom, I promise. Yeah, we're not going to look to any other outside sources. We don't have to. Everything that we need is right here. Everybody else, their needs are not here. When the shit hit the fan, people going to leave. During the COVID, that is the thing that went show itself the most. And that's the thing, is even with our own Hawaiian own agencies, yeah, they look at it the same way. If they cannot make $1 off of it, they're not gonna it's worthless.
Yeah.
It's worthless.
Well, they have the land inventory to put everybody on the wait list on the land. But they're
Yes.
not doing it because they're trading it. And why are you trading it for? You're trading it for $1. That kind of stuff doesn't make sense for $1 a year lease. It's not beneficial to the
How the
community.
corporation get the
Yeah.
beneficiary benefit?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
It's totally illegal. People should go jail for that.
Totally.
The community has to hold them accountable. It
Yep.
is a crime.
It is.
This is a crime. To give a lease for $1 a year, a $1 a lease to anybody in Hawaii is a crime. If I was an executor of an estate and I leased the estate for $1,
You get fired
I would get fired.
and probably
People,
prosecuted.
we need to fire anybody that would give a lease for this.
Yes.
We need to laugh in the face of anybody that would think that they deserve $1 a lease in Hawaii. Ha!
Well, we paying out the toot right there for that.
This is the reality is we have to value ourselves. This is why we need the
Unity,
future.
we need the unity.
We need the youth. We need to, really create opportunities for them to go back to the Aina. The one thing that I marveled at Mauna Kea is that they were able to keep everybody busy while they were up there. And there was a lot of idleness, but every day there was ability, like a village, to continue to move forward, even though it would seem like it never went anywhere. The energy and the ike of the community continued to grow while they literally stood in place. And this is what needs to be established on every corner. I think that model of Mauna Kea needs to just completely break down all the way to the shorelines. And in order for that to happen, look, if they had to pay rent on Mauna Kea for 1 year, how many of those Hawaiians could have afforded to pay rent?
Okay, so you make a good point, and it goes back down to the government or the fake state. So you can apply for these loans, or you can apply for these PPEs and this help from the government, where it stalls your rent. It just stalls it. Meanwhile, who's making the money? So right there, I asked for some assistance with my landlord. I was like, oh, we're forced to close. Can I cut me on break? No, but we have bills to pay too. I was like, okay, well, since we're not allowed to stay open, man, I'm here every day. You can drop the care and maintenance, because I'm not allowed to open, but I'm here, caretaking. The homeless, they set up shop outside, nail things. That's another conversation too that needs to happen too. But right there, they need to pay their mortgage, and then the banks need to get their money. So why didn't the government hold the banks accountable and say, these guys don't have to pay you for this amount of time? Not apply for a loan, that I still have to pay. The loan going to come back and kick me in the ass 3
Keone,
months, 6 months
The
later.
medicine, Keone, they're giving us cancer. You know what I'm saying? Their solution is going to end up being our ruin. And if we continue to look and follow the paperwork of the government, it's not going to get us into a secure future. And, as someone that, Hey, we gave away 10,000 huli on opening day. We set up 10,000 High Hawaii at the Capitol. We were the only group, definitely in Hawaii. I believe we were the only group in the U.S. that got a permit to do anything at a state capitol on opening day.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? Bro, the government took pictures and used our pictures of our event to promote themselves and completely co-opted the whole thing.
Yeah. Like they were working with you guys, and it was funded by them, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's another thing that's a good conversation too to talk about. A good topic is people are gonna look at that, and the way they use that propaganda for themselves, it's gonna seem like that you guys got paid out, you guys made money, or why would you guys do it? You know what I mean? And that is complete bullshit too. You know what I mean? So you're right. They're using that as social currency to act like they're helping the Kanaka. You know what I mean? So
I called some politicians the following week,
Mhm.
and a few of them called me back. And one of them explained that we show up every year, do what we do, because we're looking for hope.
Mhm.
And she goes, Daniel, I thought you guys were the hope. And it's a confirmation that we are all that we have ever been waiting for. And that now more than ever is absolutely the time for us to take critical action together. Yeah. When everybody move together, that's when we have the safety. And when our goal is to really sustain and feed ourselves, it's really what your intent is. Yeah. And our intent has to be, all right, let's just hold the state accountable to what it claims it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Do you read the state of Hawaii Constitution? If we just look at where we're at and hold them accountable for the agreements that they've already made, right? I mean, hey, they agreed 20% to the Hawaiian community from ceded land. That's another reason they give $1 a lease, is because then they only have to pay 20 cents for 65 years for thousands of acres to DHHL and the homestead community. Right? This is how they ensure that every single time from the beginning, the people that they have a constitutional duty to share the revenues with, there's no revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at the Constitution, though, they protect our language, they protect cultural practices and rights. They're about promoting small farms and agriculture, sustainability. Like all of our problems, if you read the 1978 Constitution, you would think that by 2021, that literally our shit would not stink because we would be the leaders in sewage. Yeah, instead of the letters in sewage. Yeah, dealing with sewage outbreaks all over the place, sewage going into our inshore fisheries, right? The kinds of problems that we're dealing with today are because we haven't done anything meaningful. Really since 1959, really since 1893, but definitely since 1959, and definitely since 1978. And I hate to break it to you guys, but I was born in 1978. Yeah. So for you to say that, like, you didn't have time, like, dude, I'm 43 years old. It has gotten worse.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out to the real reasons why we're allowed to do this, and it's to our wives. And without our
Love you,
bro,
hon.
I love you guys. Love you, honey. Fuck, I know you busting your ass right now. I know you guys sacrificing for us. I just want to send some love to you guys. Appreciation.
This is just two fathers farming, you guys, and we're really in love with our wives, and I'm so grateful for their support, and so grateful for the pa'aness of them to trust in us. That's one of the things that the Aina has brought in our relationships,
Mhm.
as it has been the cement. Yeah, when we eating and feeding our families from the Aina, it feeds the heart and the soul of our wives. Yeah, and when they see us do the work in the community, that's what they love. That's what they want to see. What woman doesn't want to see her husband fulfilling his dream and helping the community and inspiring children? But it takes a very strong woman. It takes very strong women
Yeah.
to support the Kanes in that fashion.
Totally.
Totally, bro.
You driving, the travel, everything. It takes a toll on the family. So you gotta have a good support system for real.
That's what we hope for our Lahui. We hope that through agriculture and food security, we'll have family and community security, that by working together, we can regain trust and appreciation and love for one of us that is not superficial or cliquish. Guess what, guys? We have a clique. She's called Hawaii. Yeah, and if she's underneath your feet,
I know.
then that is what is holding us all literally together. We are riding on something that is so far greater than we will ever imagine to be. Yet within each and every one of us is the power to save her pureness. Yeah, because we either take it away or we insure it with our actions. And our call out today is to inspire the industries and the governments to start to change, start to really meaningfully take participation in seeing the land produce food, feed our community so we can be healthier, for the opportunity for the youth that ever dreamed of agriculture as something, as a reality for them. You know, it's not a real flashy life, but after you live it, you can't imagine living any other life. When you have seen the full cycle of the sun, the moon, the stars, the rain, bless everything that you put in your body. Yeah, when you have felt and had the opportunity to see a place barren, hurting, painful, regain honor and beauty. You know, when you see the plants that, you know, are feet below the soil, yeah? The seeds, the Eevee kupuna seeds, like the Eevee, brah, are in the soil. But we have to retill it. Yeah, we have to recommit. And it's not easy, but it's something that, should we choose to band together to participate in this, and we can participate in every imaginable way possible. You know, there's a big way that people help us out. You blow your mind away. Our farm on Oahu is built on rubbish. People literally have show up with all of their extras that they haven't used. Last year at opening day, the amount of stuff that people brought to help farmers that we could tell was in Auntie's yard the last 20 years was treasures.
Yeah.
Treasures. And Auntie, when she went drop them off, she was like, boy, I never used this 20 years, but this was my papa's treasure, and was waiting to turn back into use. You know, and how many of us are actually sitting on the tools, but for whatever reasons, we don't share it. We don't make it available. We worried it's going to get broken.
The reality is, everybody, I don't care who you are, you're only 1 or 2 generations away from your farmer ohana. Yeah, if your mom wasn't one farmer, your parents wasn't farmer, your grandparents was probably farmers. Yeah?
Yeah.
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 Guarantee.
On my dad's side, you know, his parents were actually from Okinawa.
Farmers, though, I bet.
There was farmers.
Big farmers.
Hammer farmers.
Hammer
Kalo farmers. Yes, Okinawa. Hammer Kalo farmers.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, because Sri Kanaka is crying. It addresses the generational trauma that we all have.
Yes, bruh. Yes, bruh. That shit real, guys.
And then, I've been like trying to act hard my whole life in the wrong directions, huh? And for who and for what? For my pride, for a name on the streets, so I can sell a little bit of dope, make some money so I can have a nice car like all these other privileged guys, huh? Because I grew up poor. But so I buy stuff now because I'm insecure. I buy nice flashy stuff. Well, I'm too fashion too, asshole. Just trying to fit in at the same time. But
Keone, this is where you get the chance to flip the switch. You get the chance to make sure that the next generation of young human has a different role model because you was real, bruh. And some part of that, bruh, we got to take this shit and make fertilizer. Yeah? The only difference between the kukai and the lepo is manava. And what we found as farmers is you got to add the microbes to break it down, which means, bruh, appreciating. Yeah? And know that when we sacrifice, and right now we in the generation, all we really got to sacrifice left, you guys, is our ego. Yeah.
Boom.
All we really got to sacrifice is the moment of I'm sorry. I'm going to change my patterns. I'm going to, the little bit of sacrifice, bro, has more about respecting ourselves. Yeah. And we got to be okay with respecting us for all the fucking terrible things that we did. It's fine. We need to move forward as Allahu and realize that the healing, yeah, once it takes place, bruh, in a lot of cases is instantaneous. Yeah. This change in our values and our perspectives and the way we live every day, when we make it pono, and bruh, there's not one of us out there that is living this woke life that is 100% happy in how we living. But it's that continual, every single day commitment to wrench it hard. Why? Because everybody watching. Yeah. And that guy that deals with how to hold themselves up learns how to hold up the guy next to him.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, bruh, when your brother holding you up,
I had this.
No more.
I told Kool-Aid when I had Kool-Aid and Kalen on my podcast too. My favorite Olalo Noyan was when you reach down to when you brought up, strengthen your own back.
Aye.
bruh,
Yes,
see that?
Saba, bruh.
You see that?
Yes, sir.
That's our generation, bruh. And that's beautiful.
Bruh, that's the one. Kamali is.
Yeah.
If you guys out there, you guys being inspired, tell your parents, please take you. Please bring you 4th of July. Please, mom. Please, dad.
Yeah.
I like being part of this.
Lahui, if your back sore, it's because you're not helping enough people. And how many of us out there hear about everybody complaining about sore back, yeah? And come to find out the reason your back sore is because you're not helping out enough. Bro, I love that. Next time my back sore, I'm going to tell myself, shut the fuck up. Get out there and make that change, Daniel. Go help another person right now. That's what your back is telling you. You're not helping your wife out enough.
I think we're in a time of great healing, guys, and great union, great unity. This just the fact that we're sitting over here, Keone. Thank you very much.
thank you, Keone.
Thank you guys.
I mean,
bro.
feel honored by that.
I feel honored.
How can
Bro.
we just fuck it to daddies inside?
Bruh, I get this image looking at me. This thing is grating its teeth. It's like, dude, this is their generation. It's the grit your teeth generation.
Yeah.
It's be you and shine. And guess what? All your flaws is your most beautiful part, Kanaka.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a journey. Yeah, and that's what That's what I've been blessed, and that's why I knew when I got the platform and I reached a certain level, somewhat success. In some people's eyes, that fuck. Now I can inspire. Now I can guide.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and then after that, it's like, I get internet haters all the time. Oh, you making money off your culture and stuff.
I'm going to tell you this,
It's my
bro, right
culture.
now.
It's
You
my
and
culture.
Hawaiian, I hope you making money off your culture. Hawaiians, get out there and learn how to earn a living from your culture. Because if not, I promise you again, when Fijian willing to, okay, that was an inside joke. But there are many, many people out there in this world that will relentlessly will do it without the same level of care, of insight, of ability, and will not turn around and use that to benefit us. Bruh, our culture is right now like one of those startups.
Yeah.
It needs lots of investment.
Mhm.
But we sitting on the real Google. Yeah, the real one already went around the world. Yeah, we already get hula dances in every corner. We already get freaking people surfing. We already get the world knows everything about colonial aloha shirts. I mean, our impact and an influence is apparent, but has been misguided.
Mhm.
And to all of the guiders out there, the navigators, we're in a time when it's obvious that we don't need to be told what to do. We just need to have the courage to be guided.
Mhm.
And that's what you're talking about. You've risen to the point where, yeah, bruh, people see you. You're out there. You're recognizable. Now you have some real hard choices.
Well, that's what I just, on this journey, that's what I discovered. I was up at Mauna Kea. I made friends with everybody in the tent with me. And let me tell you something. The cool thing about Mauna Kea is when you're up there, or when we were up there, doesn't matter how much you had in your bank account. You're the fucking same. You live in one tent. You cool. You're the same. We're all the same. And everybody noticed that. Everybody felt good. Then we get down the hill. Then we had our reality again. Fuck, I get bills to pay. Spend a little bit more, so I got to work a little bit more. Get caught up in a little bit of the rat race, but through that, through the rat race, and some at some point winning that rat race here and there, thinking my brand blew up. My brand became good and strong. And then how would I use that and channel it in a better way? So the first project that I had was with Buku. He's like, oh yeah, fuck, I could use some help down the Loi. And then right, I was just like, I went and help BJ at his too. Bro, the day I helped BJ at his, bro, I couldn't fucking walk for 3 days. The next day wasn't so bad. The second and the third day, bro, to take a shit, I was falling into the toilet, bro. My legs was all locked up. I had to put my hand against the wall and kind of guide myself down to sit like this. Just that's how, and I can only imagine what my ancestors went through.
Keone, on our farm, we actually have a healer that lives on our farm.
That's what's up.
Because like that, how you feel like that is about twice a week. And this guy, he don't cry. He just come grumpy. Yeah. And it's like, dude, what is your fucking problem? It's like, oh, bro, you better go see the Lomi guy.
Yeah.
Better straighten this shit out because I cannot take, it's like in this activity is why we need everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the amazing part is that you talk about right there. It's like the farmer cannot do it alone.
Mhm.
Yeah. The farmer cannot do it alone.
Mhm.
And that to me of any of the message that we want to really like put out in the realm that you influence
Mhm.
is like, world, you all have farmers that are just like us.
Yeah.
That are the last caretakers of your indigenous agricultural practices and knowledge. And if we, for one generation, for 10 years, stop, Prada, we talking like global knowledge loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that how do we identify an indigenous farmer? These are really important global questions. How do we identify indigenous farmers, and how do we truly empower and support them?
Mhm.
Because these are the people that, one, somehow have survived through the chemical age of agriculture.
Mhm.
Today we live on 1 inch of topsoil. The whole world survives on that. My question I asked the politicians was on House Bill 499 is, can I improve the quality of soil, and can that count as increasing the value of the land?
But then we don't own the land.
Well, I was trying to look at it like, bro, if you guys gonna screw us, I'm gonna try to get one additional, Kahana Valley on Oahu has a 65-year lease. So if this legislation passes through, I want to find out how the people of Kahana can get an additional 40 years by simply improving their soil. And make sure that, in spite of all of the terrible politics, that we find a few cherries in the damn thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if we're going to get screwed, let's figure out how to minimize that screwing and use it in our favor, because usually what happens is once they find out we know how to use things in our favor, then they change it again.
Mhm. Yeah. No, totally. During this conversation, I had this thought too in my head. I was just like, bruh, the government is gonna give you a couple $1 million and you're not. But we need people. Who is your successor in this movement? You have to be grooming somebody already. You have to be grooming somebody already, because everything you guys said today, man, has value. And we're getting older, like you said. Who is your guys' successors?
This is the real. You're talking about the real deal. And we just was sitting down with Kaue's 19-year-old son, and you know, the most important foundation, yeah, is the ohana. Yeah, and for us to really be successful, the most success that I will achieve is when my children want to take over where I'm at.
Mhm.
And I'm really fortunate that I'm a son of someone that farms taro, someone that is into these practices, and that I do not carry my knowledge. I carry a basket filled with knowledge that has been handed down and passed down to the community. So primarily for us, the Jenga is, how do we make sure that our kids have the opportunity to follow in this?
Mhm.
You talk about successors. I decided to break the mold. Yeah. The successors are all the people that are farming the 30,000 huli that Kauai and I put out in this last 12 months. Yeah. The idea is to grow the amount of consciousness in agriculture, particularly taro farming. Yeah. And instead of taking it in the hands of such a small group,
Mhm.
yeah, we exploited social media, and we use the ability to communicate so that we have the opportunity to grow together. What we're working on really is establishing the opportunity to really focus on lifestyle and agriculture schools.
Mhm.
We've spent the greater part of the last 3 years helping others establish their farms. And because of, 2 months ago, we were up at 4,500 feet up there at Kalokomauka, doing high level pig pen
Oh yeah, I've
clearing,
seen that.
building all out of scratch, right? And then, the next week we're in Wailua at Shoreline, doing drip line irrigation. And because of the blessing of us to farm here and there and everywhere, um, not only are we learning and growing as farmers, but we're realizing that, bro, we need
The
farmers in
learning's in
all of
the
those
doing too. Yeah,
places.
yeah.
So the truth is, it cannot be a successor. We have to have a generation of successors. Bro, guess what? Kauai's son and my son, we cannot feed your son. We want to, yeah, but the reality is, like, we got to do this for all of our sons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's just something about, and I look at guys like Ikaika Kalama and Makua Rotman, these guys that have had the opportunity to live like very cultural lifestyle in the sense of their connection to Kai, and how Kai provides the economy for them to live their life, and how different they live. Yeah, and when the Aina is your source of power, financial, of spiritual, of physical, of mental, of sustenance, you live differently.
Mhm.
And that's the future that I want to see available to our children. Yeah. Not that they do something, but that they grow up in a way and understanding that they know they're capable of doing anything because of how, bro, these kids is lucky
Yeah.
to grow up in this age. We've never had as many opportunities to be whatever you want, to go to science. You can go to PhD route. You can go to Uncle Daniel route. Just go do them. I mean, today you're not typecasted, right? So we only want our kids that want to farm taro to farm taro.
Yeah.
We only want the community that wants to farm taro to farm taro. And to me, unlocking your want to farm taro, that's our successorship.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that ono, dude, let me tell you, when you feel your own umeke from your aina for 1 year, you will never ever go back to the bag rice. And as the rice becomes more fake and more full of chemicals and more expensive, that freaking halo nakalaw kapalili right outside in your lepo, going to become more tasty and more tasty. And as the economy rises, you know, the only reason we eat rubbish is because cheap. I hear people tell me this shit all the time. Right. I eat spam musubi because cheap. I cannot afford for eat like that. And you know what? I look at these guys and I like call them stupid dummies. Like, you stupid dummy. How much does it really cost you to freaking eat from your aina? Zero, right? The biggest raise that I got in the last 10 years was when I didn't have to spend money to buy high quality food to feed my family. And the more high quality food that I had access to ended up having more high quality food access. Yeah, like we grow taro, so we know the fish guy, and we know the chicken guy, and we know the beef guy, and we know the lamb guy, and we know the sheep guy. And, you know, we somehow get all the guys and the girls out there doing it and all the guys eating good. We all hanging together and we waiting for everybody else to figure out their thing. And it's like the taro guy, it's not just the taro guy. It's the Ele Makoko guy. It's the Mana Ulu guy. Yeah. It's the Ele Naiawea guy. It's the Pi'ali'i guy. Like within the taro, get about 100 guys that don't even need to overlap. You know what I'm saying? And then it's what your style of making it, how you make your poi. If you make something else with it, do you use your koina? You know, who's making flour? Who's making bagels? Who's making, you know, it's like, once you start really looking at there's opportunity within opportunity within opportunity. But none of that is possible.
So
without taro.
So do you feel in a kalo growing community, do you feel there's a divide or is it cliquey?
I tell you what, taro farmers is like stones. Every single one. Solid. Hammers. Cause if you just have one cellmate, one taro farmer, you knew, cousin, you are solid. No guys are gonna come, brah. These guys are going to the debt. You know what I'm saying? The problem is you put a whole bunch of stones in one bucket and try run around with the bucket. They're gonna and that's where we're at. Yeah. There ain't enough land for all the hammers for hammer. You know, I'm hammering your neighbor. This comes back down to access to more land and water. Right? If you only get 5 acres, the truth is there's lots of land for Hawaiians. There's lots of land for taro farmers that are tied up in the minds of politicians.
I believe that, yeah. So how do we free that? How do we get access?
Tell you what, bro, we're right now, the three of us are cracking that code. Because what I've heard from all of us is enough is enough. Oh, yeah. And more than that, it's like our individual success, bro, is so fragile. Yeah, and the one thing that COVID would prove was your name could be Roy Yamamoto, and brah, you could go out of business. Yeah, that some of the biggest, most Love's Bakery gone.
Yeah,
independently, even if you're the biggest, you're weak. That what is this togetherness? What does it mean? You know, and so to me, I don't know. This is why we're thinking about Traffic for Change and doing something on the regular. Every month, to really displace the concept that we are at the mercy of our system. We need to displace that. We need to realize as a community that just by getting in our car, we can impact it in a way that is more in our favor. Because when we just drive home in traffic, it only gives them more security. But if we was in traffic going around the airport 40 times, and there was 1,000 of us doing that. Can you imagine if there was 10,000 of us doing it? Yeah. Okay, H1, back up, beyond, right over here in Hilo, back up, boom, Maui, back up, every place back up. You do that twice. The next time you say you're going to do them, guys not going to travel. Yeah, and it's at that moment, we need to measure our success. Yeah, I get one list of things. There's a list. I say we show up and we do these holidays until we take care of the whole list. Yeah, TMT's on the list. Pohakulo's on the list. Mauna Kea's on the list. Partly on the list are leases. Partly on the list is institutions. Partly on the list is different value changes, import tax on food to support local agriculture. Some of it on the list is like legalizing cannabis. Bro, all the governor has to do is sign an executive order taking it off of Schedule 1.
Yeah.
He could do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
He could actually be on the toilet right now, sign on piece of paper. Boom! Tomorrow, industry born, right? The reality is that until they take us serious, until we somehow disrupt them,
Yep.
and the only way to disrupt them is with pono.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have to just surmass our pono that there's actually not enough room. We got to cut the heva.
Yeah.
Yeah, this heva's been going on for so long. We're just watching them. You know what is more heva than the heva?
Watching them.
Yeah, doing nothing.
Yeah.
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 But I don't know. I think this traffic for change, you could literally do nothing. Sit in your car.
Yeah.
You could actually eat one Big Mac. I'm not recommending it. I say go buy some healthy food.
What brother just
Yeah.
said in his new song for Pharma, not doing is doing the harm.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. No. Totally good points. Valid too. Definitely need to see some change. And I had it. I spoke about that on one of my other podcasts, or that little series I do on my round block. Was if you drive around Big Island, Hilo side, mostly Cal, Puna, you see all these abandoned orchid farms.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's because we got outsourced. And so now even with food, we're going to get outsourced. We're going to keep on getting outsourced because there's always an economy that can do it for cheaper because the cost of living is a lot less, and they'll do it for cheaper.
Bro, they import flowers for Lay's to Hawaii.
Yeah. And that's why
asinine.
that's why we lost that's why all the orchid farms is closed. All the flower farms
That
closed.
only happened though because the people buying the Lays here didn't care where the flowers were from.
Yeah.
Right? And if you told the tourists at the airport, I'm such a dick. When they go to give me the fake orchid lay, I'm like, no, thank you. Mahalo. You can keep your colonialism to yourself. Like, I'm that asshole. Like, fucking don't bring me no fake lays. Like, I'd rather have your kid make one strip tea leaf lay from some ugly, dried, dead tea leaves in the backyard they found close to the ground than go buy me one plastic with one fake lay from Indonesia, right? That happened because we allowed it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. And this whole thing about food, we allowed it.
Mhm.
We have continually looked at economy of imports over our security.
And we lost our value. We stopped valuing, and we started undercutting each other, where it became this thing where, it might even be like that with Kalo. We might be the only ones, but Brandon Lee, he runs restaurant in the pool. He brought a good point up too. He said the way I farm my pigs, if you want to eat what I farm, I charge this price, and I don't have a lot of it, but this I value this. I put my time in this, and it made sense. And I ate his fucking pork, and it's phenomenal.
I look at it like wine, right?
Yeah.
Everybody here could have a small little winery and grow kalo and produce something that is completely unique, has
And
different
personal,
craft.
just like weed, weed, wine too, vineyards. I like try them. Maybe I get this. Maybe it's a cheap week, so I can go for this one. But maybe I made a little bit more this week, so I can grab this one. I'm just going to try them. I'm going to treat myself. Treat yourself.
You also get the ballers out there that is like, brah, this is what I do. How I look at balling, brah, is what is for dinner. Yeah. And when the umeke is flowing and get one mullet or one ohole and uncle and bus, and we caught two. Brought it home, fed the family. I look at that as balling. Why? Because we know what a ball is. And it's still there. Yeah? And that security is more balling than having some rims, at least as far as I
Yeah.
I also know if I had nice rims, they broke into my car while I'm going for the ball. So, it's like that value system, right? I keep telling everybody, if you like kids be taro farmers, you got to have like the Toyota lifted with the swampa, says Mahi Aikalo on the back,
that'd be
pounding your
sick.
sounds, boom, boom, boom. The moment that your child got the truck and was a taro farmer, he would realize he didn't need that, and all he wanted to be was a taro farmer. But the kid would become a taro farmer to get that truck.
Yeah.
We just have to create, those construction style wages, but not the wage, the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Guess what? If you don't have to pay for your land and your water, you can afford to live over here and have a really awesome lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And we say, Daniel, there isn't enough room for everybody to do that. I know. That's why we got to take care of the Hawaiians first. Yeah, we take care of the Hawaiians, then we know how much land get left for them decide if they like share. And maybe they're going to decide they don't like share, but that's fine. Because if they know share, going to actually end up being more of everything for everybody. You know, right now, nobody manage the ocean, no more fish. Bro, they put the Kanakas in charge of the ocean. There's going to be more fish.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to happen. And maybe in the short term, you're not going to be able to eat certain fish. But gang, we're going on an all-scale Roy and Ta'ape wide. That's what we're eating for the next 6 months. Yeah, we got a couple eater, and we're going back to the old ways. And if we catch you in fucking mullet, Kaue, on a hole, Daniel, we're going to slap you in your head and cut off your pinky toe, you know? Yeah. And then, hey, we do that for 6 months. You know how much mullets and a hole is going to have when we start busting the predators?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, there's a management practice that isn't hard to do. We just have to be organized, and we got to do it.
About already.
Right? It's just all about us doing it. Mm-hmm. So, all you guys out there that know what to do, keep doing it. Me and Uncle Carl love you guys, and you guys inspire us. And you know what inspires us? Sometimes we don't even know you, but we the type of guys, when we see the Aina transform, we appreciate it. We can see the green in the mountains, and when we drive by the farm, we can tell which farm's not using Roundup. Yeah?
Yeah.
When I come to your farm, I look at them immediately. Might not out turn, or I feel like, you know. And guess what? Uncle Danny, he loves to pull weeds. I might not be the weed lover, puller that he is, but you know the thing about the weeds is when you get good lepo, pulling weeds is actually freaking awesome. Yeah, when lepo is super shedding, let me tell you, pulling weeds is like catching ukus. It's pickable.
Yeah.
But going from one place that had super junk lepo and terrible weeds to now, I go in the back, and when I pull the weeds, bro, I'm marveling at the root system of my weeds. I'm like, oh, look at this freaking 12-inch hono grass freaking root. Yeah. Whoa.
That's because you're passionate about it too. So it's really getting inspired and passionate about farming and agriculture and stuff, and putting that back into the conversation of, you know, food independence here in Hawaii, farming. You know, you brought up a good point too. Even fish, the fisheries and stuff. There's a good system, and we know the system. This system was in play hundreds of years ago. Yeah.
We don't even have to make it up. That's how silly it is. You know, everybody mad at you. Oh, Daniel, you cannot do that. Dude, I didn't make up shit. All I did was do what they told me to do and train me to do. I did it. Mm-hmm. And the success that they experienced, I'm experiencing it differently. Mm-hmm. But the values and the understandings and the results are a lot the same. Mm-hmm. They talk about how important this was for the ohana. Mm-hmm. I'm actually experiencing that right now in life, and seeing the result of how that impacts. And that to me is worth $100,000 a year. Yeah, if I come home, my wife like me. Yeah, if I come home and my farming partner's wife like me. Yeah, to have my 15-year-old daughter willing to wear my shirt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I have I was definitely not wearing what my father was wearing when I was 15. I was like, hell with that. You know, to me, that's how I measure, you know, my success. That's my wealth. Mm-hmm. My wealth is this relationship with them, this understanding, raising my kids. Bro, I get 6 kids. The oldest is 15. I've been the full-time dad for the last 15 years and have done all these other things that I have the privilege to do. But let me tell you, the one thing I can remember growing up and being around these professional men that would always talk about their regret of not spending time with the kids. They would say, boy, spend as much time with your kids. The thing happens fast. You know what? I would listen, and I quit my job, and I would go spend my time with my kids. And it's so unbelievably worth it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been blessed. It's my kid right in,
in
my workplace, you know. But even to get work done, I got to tell her, hey, babe, imaginary line. You know, because if she, you know, if I'm busy, I'm working on something, and, you know, she come over there with boy, and I play with him, you know, and I'm not going to finish.
Yeah.
So imaginary line right there. But, you know, but just to, you know, occupy the same space as him, and to know that he's right there, you know, that's a blessing.
Right. You not only influencing him, he's understanding the sacrifice that it takes to be creative. Mm-hmm. he's also in this environment of creativity where on a regular basis, new things emerge from your mind, Dad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is actually emerging things in his mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that right there, that's the intergenerational part that you break
Mhm.
when you can't raise your kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Keone, you know you're a farmer, yeah?
yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know that, yeah, and you know that farmers market is just a. I completely I get it. You are a farmer,
Mhm.
and for anyone to say that, oh, what is this brand? Um, dude, you're a full time farmer raising your kids on the Aina.
You know,
Yeah,
I know some one of these cool days that we did at the old, it's metal, though,
yeah.
iron. And for a moment, I was just like, I have phones, I have computers, I have podcast setups. And I was like, at one point, this was the highest point of technology. This was an
Bruh.
iPhone 13.
Bruh, that was
You know what I mean? This thing right here was an iPhone 13. And if you had this, your neighbors were probably talking about it.
They was trying to steal them.
Let me borrow. They'll bring them back. Yeah. But that was a piece of technology. And it goes back to what you said too. In jail, we had this thing called Hale Papa Mua. Where, all the guy, we'll only get men in there. So, but we gather, and then, when Uncle Mel was sharing one of his stories with us, he said, when the missionaries were trying to explain Christianity and God, they often brought up this thing about heaven and hell. Heaven, and the Hawaiians couldn't get it. Yeah, they was like, oh, burn forever. They couldn't wrap their head around it. Yeah, and so the missionaries tried to ask them, said, oh, so what is heaven for you guys? What is heaven? Best thing, full stomach. Hell, empty. So simple. And I just shared this with La'a the other day too. He was like, oh, I never heard that one. I was like, so I try to share it as much as I can because that's the truth. Now we can go McDonald's. We live in a time and generation where everything is abundantly available. At your flavor, at your choice and stuff. But at one point, when it wasn't like that, very simple. You know what I mean? Yeah, and simple is good. Simple works, man. And
I think for those that want to be simple, it should be an option,
yeah.
right? And not everybody is simple,
Mhm.
but if there isn't space for the simple person, for the simple life, pretty soon not going to be space for yours.
Yeah, yeah. Good point.
Speaking of which, Keone, we actually came to do some daddy kid activities, and I don't know how much time we have hanging with you,
Yeah.
but I feel like we've covered like
Oh, we ran through the whole
some
gamut. Yeah.
crazy shit today, and I would only I would just put this out there to you. I mean, bro, we'd love to continue this conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
And me and Uncle Carl, it's hard for us to go anywhere without a project.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, me too.
So it's like, what kind of project can we really meaningfully work on that will achieve, allow for us to farm together?
Mhm.
Is there a virtual plot out there that we can begin to cultivate? Is there a way that through who we are,
Mhm.
that we can help to provide more and uplift more around us just through how we're interacting? Right
Mhm.
now we've been getting ulu trees out, we've been getting huli out. July, we want to put out 15,000 huli. I don't know, you might consider maybe being a huli drop point, maybe having some kind of huli
Oh,
event
automatic.
in July. We're happy to get huli to you for that.
Mhm.
Um, this is something that, obviously the listener got to be ready to participate.
Mhm.
But it's like, how can we figure out how many of them out there want to participate?
Yeah, yeah.
How can we take sort of a pulse of if we're on point or if we're off?
Mhm.
And then that will help us readjust, because we only want to be a part of the kind of meaningful change in work. Yeah, like we can't afford to spin our wheels.
Mhm.
We at the end of it, Kauai
Time
and
is
I
valuable.
oftentimes
Yeah.
we pay the tab and everything. We out, we leave, we boom, because we realize that it was the bringing of the people together and doing of the work that was more important than whatever the costs associated with it was. And so, we're blessed. We operate kind of in a nonprofit way, but also in a way where, like, we kind of treat money like fish.
Mhm.
We only take what we need,
Mhm.
always get.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and it's really in how we inspire people around us to help others to share and give when it's needed.
Mhm.
Because I think that's the part, people, they kind of have like this crisis lifestyle where they're always in need. And as a farmer, it's like really the only time we're in need is if something catastrophic happens to us, like our good friend Hanalei Bishop had a river go through his farm, and like, cause
Yeah.
that was like a straight right hook, the jaw just imploded. You know what I'm saying? Right through Brada's farm, 20 feet wide, 8 acres long, like gone. Or it's when we're trying to help more people.
So with Hanalei's problem, if somebody had time, how could they go and help that out?
In the case of Hanalei, there's all sorts of ways to help. Some of it's legal. Because it was a river that broke, there's all kinds of laws and permitting that was necessary to repair the damage to the river, to get the river to flow in the way that it used to flow.
Mhm.
There was heavy machinery equipment that was necessary, some of which was donated. Um, Work crews came up, everything from Hali Pohaku with no tools, just move rocks,
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
we came up with chainsaws. We reinforced dams, po'o-wise. I mean, that's the thing. Reach out to Hanalei. Here's the challenge, right? We need to go home and train and know what we bring to the table, so that when the call to help goes out, we're able to help in a really meaningful way. My brother Hanalei, I'm going to tell you, choke help came and he was a little overwhelmed at the moment, but actually he really needs the help. But sometimes it's difficult to manage how that is. So
He
if
didn't know how
anybody
to
wants to help
delegate.
manage that
Yeah,
help, that's
yeah.
a huge help right there. And those are sort of like I said, you guys, there's so many ways. If you don't know a farmer and you live in Hawaii, let's make that the first thing that you change. And then the second, if you don't support and empower a farmer and you live in Hawaii, let's make that the next change that you do. So you went from knowing Brada to like helping Brada.
Mm.
And you'd be surprised. One of the things that I would suggest, especially in the case of guys like Hanalei, is call him and ask him specifically what does he need to help with this week.
Okay. How do we get hold? Is there a community like this? Who do we follow? Or, you know, maybe you can write it down and I can put it in my podcast too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
My
I'm at
description.
Mana'ai. We're Uplift Others at Kahana Cultural Living. We've been doing the fertilizers. I mean, we put a lot of requests out in the community. I would tell people, pay attention. This is why it's important to like know a farmer. Ask yourself that. Which farmers do I know? Like, which farmers do I support? And make sure, like, every month, like, you do something to buy one thing from that farmer. It's crazy, you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a million of us here.
Mhm.
If all of us bought one thing from a farmer a month, there'd be shit for people to buy from farms. Let's get it to that point, because that's going to force the farmers to increase their production.
I think a lot of revenue is lost in that go between, where you sell it to food land. You know, for me, and that's why I don't sell my brand to Zoomies. I don't sell it to PacSun. You buy them from me. Do I make the lion's share? I do make the lion's share, but I own it. Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't feel like, and I make it in a limited amount, and I don't feel like I can't afford to give everybody a piece of the pie on that. You know what I mean? But I can encourage people to create their own piece of the pie too. And I think that's, money has to be made. Like today, somehow money has to be made, because shit just, until there's a new system implemented, or something, just kind of how it
I put
goes.
it out there. I encourage all the businesses out there to figure out how to give to farmers. Look, you guys, we got to pay taxes. So figure out how to work with your accountant to put some of that tax money into the nonprofit agriculture sectors.
Okay.
Yeah, there are really sincere agricultural nonprofits throughout our islands. And like I just encourage it. It's like anybody out there that is struggling and paying taxes, figure out how to struggle and donate and pay less taxes to the government. And there is a way. I know that. I mean, we're partly here and able to do this because we do get support
Mhm.
in the craziest ways. I mean, no joke. We were cleaning up asbestos on one of our farms, and someone came through and saw that and donated an excavator to us
Mhm.
to clean it up. And so it's like crazy in the ways that we can impact and empower each other. It's not huge. The excavator brother was like almost broken, and then the mechanic came in and fixed them for free, and then boom, the brothers had the broken fixed machine, and we would move the rubbish, and I got better.
Yeah.
And so I want to say the solution is simple. It really is, but we each have to figure out how we meaningfully participate in it. It's not just like go donate and give something and you're free and clear. Like put some effort into it.
Mhm.
You know, in our community, listener out there, do a little bit of research. Go Google someone in your community, look for it, because honestly, the best guys are going to be hard to find because they don't want to deal with people, but they're badass farmers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reality is that like your kupuna who have this knowledge that will never tell it to you until you ask.
Mm.
Yeah, part of where we're really lucky is we're unafraid and shameless to say the things that need to be said that everybody is thinking but has fear in saying it.
Mhm.
Like whatever the consequences are associated with my mouth, I take the cracks, bro. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's rough. We don't get the funding for it, but the truth always makes it better in our community.
Mhm.
Yeah, when I false crack Kamehameha hard for the 1,100 acre lease to Monsanto, guess what happened in the first 3 months?
You lost funding.
No, bro, they put terra farmers on the land.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I never ever got funding. They couldn't take anything from me because they wasn't giving me shit to begin with. But what I immediately saw was I saw behavior change and I saw terra farmers get leases.
Right.
Right? And so it's like you would be, but Daniel, hey, you know what? I'm one of those guys. I'm shameless. If I gotta poke the system for your benefit, I will.
Yeah.
Which now I'm gonna look at you and hold you more accountable. Cause bruh, you never do them by yourself. That's the other part in our community is like what makes us strong is to really give credit
Mhm.
to the people that inspired us, to the people that helped pave the way. Yeah, to recognize those that came before us. When we do that, we become a part of a chain that has been here from Halua, from Papa and Wakia, that never broke in chain. Yeah, actually, we could be the Shetty generation for break 'em. Yeah, and the chain is not as strong as it used to be, but let me just tell you, it is totally within our capabilities.
It can happen.
That ain't gonna happen, bro. Imagine why you guys waiting for be the generation that Halua died
Mhm.
because somebody was too lazy or never have a dollar associated with taking care of the firstborn.
Or couldn't stand to fight.
Yeah.
It's the reality.
Not
You
gonna be
guys.
that guy. I'm not gonna be that guy. Choose not to.
Uncle Carl, you the guy that is on his hands and knees cutting burlap, placing it around hollow, like you tucking in every single huli for kiss 'em good night. And I watch you walk around like when Forest Ferry with your Aloha organic sprays, talking and singing to each plant. Let me just tell you, Brad, we got one whole comedy special on Kaue's farming activities and how he related to Haloa. Like one child playing with him, and I don't know, man. There's just something when you see somebody caring for something that much
Easy to
and it's
support.
genuine,
Yeah.
and then also you see the big fat taros this guy's grow, not for brag. We like be like you, Uncle Bobby.
That's
Um,
the unfortunate thing. That all of that was just bearing rage and bearing loss and bearing pain and agony and like not having direction from after losing our child.
Mhm.
And you're never gonna find a town farmer like this. 'Cause I literally, I mean, come to my baby.
Mhm.
You know what I time take care of the house, like taking care of his bed. That I cannot talk him in anymore. And that's why.
That's the connection.
That's the why.
Oh yeah, that's heavy. But thank you, bro. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I know you guys gotta go. You guys got the family waiting outside, bro.
We appreciate your time, and we just hate to leave your listeners. Just drop the mic on these guys, but gang, if we splitting, we's out. We love you guys, and let me just tell you, if anything we said or anything I said when offend you, well, you deserve it. And if you have a beef, you can check me out on social media. I'm the type of guy, I will apologize if I rightfully said something that made you not feel good. But also, I'm the type of guy that will double check you because maybe you was the reason that you never feel good about that. So, much love and aloha to everybody in the Honua.
Yeah, right on. Okay, Brown Block Podcast, man. Thank you guys for coming. Aloha, guys.
Aloha, ba.